Now let me talk about the milk. Okay, so I will be coming to the dairy product now. Okay, so if you talk about the milk, guys, if you talk about the milk, in the milk we are talking about, the breast milk, right? Usually if you talk about the breast milk, you shall compare it with the cow milk, and you shall compare it with the buffalo milk. In the pediatrics also you will be studying about this, but basically if you talk about the milk, I am talking about the breast milk, okay, because this is very commonly asked, right? Breast milk. If you talk about the breast milk, it is having high quality of protein and high quality of fat content. If you talk about the protein and the fat content, right, in the breast milk, it is having lesser quantity but higher quality of protein also and fat also as compared to the cow milk and the buffalo milk. Okay. Next point over here which we should remember, that it is actually rich in cysteine and taurine. It is also rich in some antibodies which is found in the breast milk. In the colostrum, that is the first milk which is ejecting out from the breast actually for the baby, that is the colostrum. It is actually very rich in the IgE antibodies, right? That is helping the immune system of the baby, right? Okay. Now next point over here which we should remember, that is they are rich in PUFA. PUFA means your polyunsaturated fatty acid, where we have talked about your omega-3 and the omega-6. Omega-9 was the part of MUFA, that was monounsaturated fatty acids, right? Okay. Now in this PUFA, we have talked about that omega-6 was your essential fatty acids as well, where we were talking about the safflower oil, right? Linoleic acid and all, right? Okay. So they are actually rich in the PUFA, right? The linoleic acid. Yes, we have already talked about linoleic acid, right? So basically this is seen over there. And the arachidonic acid, right, which we already talked about, they are rich in these things, right? They are rich in these particular products. Now it is also rich in zinc, it is also rich in copper, it is also rich in selenium, which is an antioxidant as well, right? But it is having low sodium, and due to that it is nephroprotective, right? And due to that it is nephroprotective. Okay, and that was the MCQ. Now let's talk about milk pasteurization. Pasteurization is nothing but it's kind of a disinfection of the of the milk. So milk pasteurization. What is milk pasteurization? Basically, the milk pasteurization means it is the milk disinfection. Right? Here we are actually checking the milk quality. So we are having some parameters over here by which we can actually check the milk quality, and we are calling that as milk quality index. So if we talk about milk quality index methods, we are having several methods to check the milk quality index, right? Yes, it can be torture, but we need to remember them because they have already been tested, right? So here we are talking about milk quality index. For example, first one we are having, that is the lactometer, right? Lactometer will be checking the lactose content. B over here we are having, that is a solid non-fat test. The detail you might not be knowing over here, that is not needed, but they will at least name you should know, because which of the following is not the method. These kind of questions they will be asking you, right? Next method over here, that is a methylene blue reductase test. And over this one the question has been asked, how they asked you, right? After this I will be talking about the methods of pasteurization. They had asked you that which of the following is not a method of pasteurization, right? So their answer was the MBRT. This is your methylene blue reductase test. It is not a method of pasteurization, rather it is a method of milk quality index. Okay, so that is the difference over here. So that's why these kind of questions might be asked. Now let me talk about methods of pasteurization. So what are the methods of pasteurization and what are the methods of milk quality index? It should be known by us. Okay, that's why I told you some bit of learning power, some bit of the memorization power is actually needed in this particular topic, right? So I hope you are with me, guys, over here. So here the first one which we are talking about, that is the Holder method, Holder or the VAT method. Here it is nothing but you are holding the things. You are holding the milk over here. We are talking about the milk pasteurization. We are holding the milk. Okay, and we are actually boiling it. Boiling in the sense, right, we are actually increasing the temperature of the milk. How much will be the temperature over here? If you are talking about, temperature will be around 63 to 66 degrees Celsius. 63 to 66 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes. Right? So that is the thing over here, and then we'll be cooling it down gradually. Then after that we'll be cooling it down gradually. Then cooling happens gradually. Once they had asked you one question. What was the question over here? Question they had asked us that what is the bacteria which can be surviving in this particular technique, that is the holder wet method. In this holder wet method, what can be the bacteria, right? So obviously they are asking you the heat resistant bacteria. Temperature over here is the 63 to 66 degrees Celsius. So over here your answer became that it was your Coxiella burnetii. Can you tell me what it is causing? Coxiella burnetii, which kind of fever it is causing? Yes, it was Q fever. Coxiella burnetii is actually, guys, it is heat resistant. That's why heat resistant, right? And it is causing what? Causing Q fever. It is causing Q fever, right? So this particular bacteria, it might be surviving. It might be survivor in this method, survivor in holder method or the wet, right? So this MCQ has been already asked, so that's why it is worthy to mention over here, right? Okay, guys. Now, one more method which we shall talk about over here, that is the next method, right? And that is your HTST method. HTST is your high temperature short time. High temperature but short time. Why we are doing all these techniques? Because we are talking about the methods of pasteurization. We are doing the pasteurization for the disinfection purpose. So what we will be doing over here, we'll be increasing the temperature, right, for 15 seconds, and then rapidly we'll be bringing it down. So for 15 seconds we'll be doing this procedure, right? So what we'll be doing basically in this particular method, so we are doing, we'll be actually increasing the temperature to 72 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds. Yes, that much time only, and then we'll be cooling it. After that we'll be cooling it, right? So rapidly we'll cool that down. After that we are having one more method, right? That is the UHT. Obviously UHT will be the ultra. Here we'll be using the ultra high temperature. So which will be the best method for the pasteurization? Ultra high method, because here we are using more and more amount of temperature, more and more temperature. So Coxiella burnetii will not survive this particular method. Coxiella burnetii is not even surviving the high temperature short time method, right? So that is the thing over here. So ultra high temperature, if we are talking about, here we are actually reaching up to 125 degrees Celsius. What is the boiling point of water? 100 degrees Celsius. Now we are reaching up to the 125 degrees Celsius for around how much time? For around few seconds, 5 to 10 seconds, for few seconds only. For few seconds, and then rapidly will cool it. Right? So this is the best method of pasteurization. So this is the best method of pasteurization. This is the best indicator, right? This is the best method of pasteurization, right? This is the best method. Okay. So once we have talked about the pasteurization methods, right? Now we shall talk about the efficiency of the pasteurization, right? Now we shall talk about the efficiency of pasteurization, right? If we talk about the efficiency of pasteurization, we are having some kind of test over here. For example, first test which we shall talk about over here, that is a phosphatase test. Second test which we should remember over here, that is the coliform count test, right? That is a coliform count. In the coliform count, basically we are actually counting the colonies, and if there are less than 30,000 colonies per ml in this milk, in this pasteurized milk, then we are saying that it is actually saying that it is effective, that pasteurization is effective in this milk. If there will be more than 30,000 colonies, then obviously the pasteurization is not effective. And C, right, that is the next one over here, that will be our standard plate count. Right, or the colonies count. Basically here we are talking about 30,000 colonies, not in the coliform count. Okay, so basically we are saying that standard plate count will be measuring the less than 30,000 colonies per ml. If that is the case, then we are saying that this is your pasteurized milk, right? The pasteurization quality is actually adequate in that particular case. Once we have talked about that, now after the milk we shall talk about the egg, right? So let's talk about the egg. We know that it is a very rich source of protein, right? And if we talk about the egg, basically here, what is the shape of the egg? Obviously it is the oval in shape, right? Here we shall remember the rule of 6, right? Because why I am saying so, because it is having the 6 gram of protein, it is having the 6 gram of fat, having 30 milligram of 6 into 5 is 30 milligram of calcium, 1.8 milligram of iron, right? Around 240 milligram of cholesterol, 240 milligram of cholesterol. So these are some of the things which we should be remembering as far as egg is concerned, right? What are the clinical features of the eggs, right? The clinical features over here, for an example, not the clinical features, I would say what are the features of the egg consumption over here, and what are the features of the egg in itself, right? What it is containing, what are the qualities of the egg over here. So if you guys remember, I have talked about the net protein utilization. NP over here, that is around 96 as far as egg is concerned. The highest the meat is having, and then after that the egg comes, that is around 96, right? Then the richest source over here, it is the richest source of cholesterol. Please remember that. What is the richest source of cholesterol? That is your egg only, right? Then it is actually not very good in the vitamin C content, but it is having high quantity of the docosahexaenoic acid, DHA, right? It is low in the iron also, right? As far as iron is concerned, it is having one protein, that is the avidin. Avidin is not good for us. Avidin is actually, after the boiling, it is getting destroyed. Okay, so it will be destroyed after boiling. So the person who are actually consuming raw eggs, they might be getting the biotin deficiency due to that after boiling, right? Why they might be getting raw consumer eggs? So this is a point over here. Raw egg consumers who are consuming the raw eggs, raw egg consumers, right? They might be getting the deficiency of, right? They might develop the deficiency of biotin. So they might develop the biotin deficiency because avidin, which is found in the raw eggs, that will not be destroyed because they have not boiled it. So the raw egg consumers, they might be developing the vitamin, which vitamin? That is the biotin, right? So that is the case over here. So now we shall talk about the food adulteration diseases, right? In the food adulteration diseases, the very first one which we should remember, that is the neurolathyrism. That is a neurolathyrism. In the neurolathyrism, basically this is the crippling disease of the nervous system, right? So here what we are seeing, this is the disease of the nervous system. So what we are seeing, basically this will be causing the spastic paralysis, and it will be causing the spastic paralysis of what limbs? Lower limbs. It will be causing the spastic paralysis in the lower limbs, right? So that you need to remember. Here we are saying that which kind of toxin we are talking about over here, that is a boa toxin. This is a beta oxalyl aminoalanine, right? And adulterant over here will be the kesari dal. So the people, the poor man's protein, poor man's meat is the pulses, and if they will be taking kesari dal for a very long period of time, for about 2 to 3 years, they might be developing the neurolathyrism. So kesari dal is having another name, that is the Lathyrus sativus, right? Next one we are having, that is the epidemic dropsy. By the way, neurolathyrism is having the stages also. The stage 1, they are saying that this is the latent stage, right? Stage 1 is the latent stage. Then they are talking about then stage 2. In the stage 2, we are saying that they will be needing the 1 stick in their hands, and then in the stage 3 they might be needing the 2 sticks in their hand. Okay, then in the stage 4 they might be they might be crawling on the ground, right? They might be crawling on the ground. So these kind of stages might also be seen. However, for the FMG level, they might not ask you the stages. But neurolathyrism, right? This is the important disease which we need to remember. The toxin is very important, and the adulterant over here is very important. 2 things. So toxin is the boa, and the adulterant is the kesari dal. Next one is the neurolathyrism, guys. Neurolathyrism we have talked about. Next one is the epidemic dropsy. Epidemic dropsy here, what is the toxin? That is the sanguine, and adulterant over here is the argemone mexicana. That is the oil basically. So here everything is related to the liquid medium. For an example, the liquid can be, it can be accumulating in the body. For example, it can cause edema. It can cause edema, bilateral swelling of the legs, bilateral edema of the legs, right? Here we are talking about diarrhea, that is also liquid. Dyspnea, because liquid is actually, filling in the pleural spaces. So that will be causing a pleural effusion. Cardiac failure, liquid can be actually surrounding the heart, that is in the pericardial cavity. So that will be causing the pericardial effusion. So that is also causing the cardiac failure. So you can remember like this, that liquid will be filling in the body and it will be causing the problem, that is the epidemic dropsy. Here the toxin you need to remember, that is sanguine, already has been tested in the MCQ, right, recently 2 years back. Adulterant is the argemone mexicana, right? Endemic ascites, guys. Endemic ascites talking about the ascites and the jaundice. Endemic ascites, as the name suggests, ascites, right? So here the toxin which we need to remember is the pyrrolizidine alkaloid, right? This is actually hepatotoxic, very important. This is hepatotoxic, right? It can be causing the liver disease, it might be causing the cirrhosis as well, right? And here adulterant is the crotalaria seeds, that is the junjunia, right? So adulterant over here will be the crotalaria seeds. So that is very important. Here you can see this is the kesari dal, this is the sanguine, and this over here you can see this is the Pyrazodon, this is the crotalaria seeds, right? The crotalaria seeds. Okay, once we have talked about these food adulterant disorders, right? These three things at least you should remember them, right? Toxins and the adulterants are very, very important. What are the food adulterants? Okay, I have talked about that earlier as well, okay, in the previous section, right? Now we shall move on to the food related fungal disorders which can cause the fungal diseases in the community, right? So let's talk about the food related fungal disorders, right? Food related fungal disorder or food related fungus, okay? So if we talk about the food related fungus over here, we shall talk about very first one, that is the aflatoxin, which will be causing the aflatoxicosis. So if you talk about aflatoxicosis, it is actually the disease which is seen in the storage form, right? So this is the disease basically which you are talking about. It is a storage disease, guys. It is the storage disease. For example, storage fungus basically, or storage disease or storage fungus. For an example, some people are actually storing some kind of things, storing the grains or something like that. So those kind of products, if they will be storing, somewhere in the godowns and all. So over there, food storage in godowns. That could be the example over here. Food storage in godowns. So over there, the fungus might be developing, right? The fungus might be developing, right? So this is the example of the aflatoxicosis. Basically, the toxin over here, which we should know, that is the aflatoxin. As the name suggests, toxin over here with the aflatoxin will be causing the aflatoxicosis. So toxin over here will be the aflatoxin, right? And that will be secreted by what? That will be secreted by the fungus, that is the Aspergillus flavus. So it is actually secreted by Aspergillus flavus. Aspergillus flavus. Okay, that will be the fungus over here, right? Next point over here which we need to remember, that it is actually hepatotoxic. It is causing the liver diseases. Hepatotoxic, right? Most commonly affected food, there will be the stored food in the godowns and all. So that is seen over here. And usually, the groundnut is very commonly affected over here. So most commonly, groundnut will be affected. Okay, that can be asked. Among the food product, most commonly what can be seen, because the groundnut also, they are actually stored in the godowns and also that's why it can be seen, right? Next point over here, how we can prevent it. So it can actually prevent it by doing the ventilation, in the godowns. If you are increasing the ventilation and you are decreasing the moisture in the godowns and all, so that can actually decrease the incidence of this particular fungus, that is Aspergillus flavus, and they will not be able to actually secrete this aflatoxin, and aflatoxicosis might not be seen. So basically it can be prevented by, you should be increasing the ventilation. You should be increasing the ventilation and you should be decreasing the moisture, because that is the thing. Because of increasing moisture and decreasing ventilation, Aspergillus flavus is actually growing over there. So that's why it is a problem, right? Next fungal disease, in this food alteration disorder we shall talk about, that is your second one over here, that, right? So second one over here which we shall talk about, that is the ergotism. That is the ergotism, right? In the ergotism, if we talk about, right, that is actually a plant or the field fungus, right? So plant or a field fungus, basically we saw that if you are talking about the godowns fungus and all, right? In the godowns, basically if you are seeing some food product is actually getting accumulated over there, Aspergillus flavus might grow and it can be releasing the aflatoxin and might be causing the aflatoxicosis. But over here we are talking about the open field, we are talking about the crops in the open field, so that is causing the ergotism, right? Basically it is a plant or the field fungus, right? And it is actually causing the ergotism. And basically we are talking about that it is ergot alkaloid. So toxin over here, what is the toxin which we are using over here? That is the ergot alkaloid, right? Next question over here is that what kind of symptoms it can be showing. Basically it is showing may cause GI toxicity, right? So aflatoxin was causing the hepatotoxicity, it is causing the GI toxicity, right? Gastrointestinal toxicity. How we can actually prevent this? We can actually, most common affected food product. There I told you the groundnut was the most commonly affected, right? And here I am talking about jawar, rye. Okay, these are the most commonly affected food over here. So most commonly affected food over here, these are the jawar. Okay, jawar can be there, rye can be there, right? How you can prevent it? Actually, okay, what they are doing actually in the crops, because it is happening in the open areas. So floating plants in 20% of salt solution, 20% of salt solution, that might be the solution in itself for the ergotism, right? So basically this is the ergot alkaloid, right? Once we have talked about this, now we shall move on to the food quality and the standards, right? Food quality and the standards. So over here, let's talk about the food quality and the standards regarding them, right? The food quality and the standards, actually it is regulated by some bodies, right? It is regulated by some bodies. What bodies I'm talking about? First of all, we should remember that FSSAI. What is FSSAI? Basically this is the food safety, right? Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. Okay, this is a authority of India. Okay, right? And here we are talking about the prevention of the food adulteration, right? We have talked about the food adulteration diseases, right? So they are actually maintaining that some kind of product should not be actually roaming in the market, which can be causing the food adulteration. So they are actually keeping a tight control over those food products, right? So there could not be any kind of XYZ company can come in the market and they it might be causing some kind of disease in the particular population. So it is keeping an eye over that. So they are having a bird eye view from there, right? So what is the function of these things, right? They are actually preventing. So they are actually preventing the food adulterism. So Prevention of Food Adulteration Act. Okay, that was launched with this particular authority. Okay, and it was started in the 2006. It was started in back 2006. Now there is one particular authority in India, right? And there is one particular authority in the world, right? So this is in the world there is an international authority, and in India there is a national authority, right? This national authority name is the AgMark. Okay, national authority name is the AgMark over here. Okay, AgMark, basically they are saying that this is the agricultural mark, right? I will be showing you the logo also because they are very important for the exam purpose. Agricultural mark, right? Here they are saying that whatever food product is there, right? Whatever plant product is there, right? It has to be recognized by the AgMark, right? So it is for what? It is basically the Indian standard, which is actually checking for the quality of food product. So basically checking the quality of food product. Checking the quality of food product, right? Now next one over here, which is actually following the international authority, it is actually maintaining the quality of the food product, and that is actually the Codex. This is the Codex Alimentarius. Codex Alimentarius. So Codex Alimentarius, basically this is the name which is the international standard, and actually the same thing over here. This is the international standard, international level standard, right? So if XYZ company, they want to introduce their food product, okay, they want to open their franchise in the different parts of the world, so they should be actually following the Codex Alimentarius guidelines, right? So that is the thing over here, international standard for food products quality. Okay, food products quality. Okay, so that is the thing which we need to remember over here, right? So these are some of the some of the signs over here. Here you are seeing that this is the sign of AgMark. This is a sign of AgMark over here. You can see the Bharat Sarkar, Government of India, and in between that you are seeing that AgMark, in Hindi and the English as well, right? Okay, this is the BIS hallmark. BIS hallmark. Okay, Bureau of Indian Standard. Okay, this has already been asked in the MCQ, so that's why I am showing you this. This is the BIS hallmark over here. Okay, this is the ISI standard, Indian standard. Okay, so this is the ISI hallmark which we need to remember. Okay, so these are the potential MCQs. Okay, right. Now we shall talk about, this is the last one. So now we shall talk about the nutritional assessment in children, right? Nutritional assessment in children. Okay, however, these assessment you might have studied them in the pediatrics class also. So what are the standards over here? Let me talk about them. Okay, only the 4 things I will be talking about over here, and all of these 4 things are your MCQs, right? Direct MCQs. So over here, first thing, which is that what is the weight for age? Weight for age is showing something. Okay, you need to tell me what it is showing. Then weight for height. Weight for height tells us about something. You need to tell what is it. Then height for age is telling us about something. You need to tell again what it is. Height for age. And fourth one is the Shakir tape. I know that you are very excited to answer that. So weight for age over here we are talking about. This is the most sensitive. This is the most sensitive criteria for telling about the nutritional assessment for the children. Weight for height is actually the criteria indicator for the acute malnutrition in the children. It is an indicator for the acute malnutrition in the children. Okay, very important for the exam purpose, has already been asked. Height for age, they are talking about, it is actually sensitive for the chronic malnutrition. Weight for height is for acute malnutrition and height for age is for chronic malnutrition, right? So in the pediatrics class also you must have talked about that. Shakir tape, actually it is telling us about the mid-arm circumference, right? It is actually telling us about the mid-arm circumference, right? So basically it is a tape, in between, it is having the three colors: red color, yellow color and the green color. Green color means it is safe, yellow color means it is children are at the risk for the malnutrition, and the red color already they are in the malnutrition risk, right? That Shakir tape you must have seen that, right? So it is in the pediatrics part. So Shakir tape is for the mid-arm circumference. All of these four questions here, all of these has been asked. All of these has been asked in the MCQs in the various years, right? So that was about the assessment in the children. So in this particular session, what we have talked about, we have talked about the micronutrients, we have talked about the several vitamin deficiencies, we have talked about the minerals over here, we had to talk about the iodine, we had to talk about the iron, we had to talk about the zinc and the fluorine over there. Then we had to talk about the milk. That was a particular dairy product. Then we had to talk about some important points about the egg. Then we had to talk about the food adulteration disorders, and at last we had to talk about some of the Indian standards which are actually keeping an eye over the food products and all. So thank you so much for listening to this particular section. I know this was bit higher in duration, but it is worthy, and these two topics of the nutrition will be taking care of your MCQs. So once you will be revising this, try to jump into the MCQs, try to solve some of them, right? And I will be seeing you in the next one. Thank you.